From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
The strike continues. The strike continues. The strike continues.
No. Is that it?
Until there's freedom and dignity. Until there's freedom and dignity.
Palestinian prisoner Khader Adnan is on the 66th day of a hunger strike protesting his arrest without charge in an Israeli jail. His case goes before the Israeli Supreme Court today. We'll speak with his sister in Israel. Then we'll look at the latest in the New York City Police Department spying controversy.
We're trying to be good American citizens. We're trying to, pay our taxes, work here, buy things that are American-made so we can help the economy. But then there's another group that thinks that we are foreigners and trying to destroy this country.
We'll be joined by Gerard Russell, has just found out a New York City police officer spied on him and his friends on a whitewater rafting trip. Why? Because he's Muslim. Then 1 year since the uprising that overthrew the Gaddafi regime, Libya faces factional divisions and allegations of widespread torture.
Some militias cooperate closely, but there's also been infighting between the militias, and of course there are fears that this could escalate and that the situation in Libya could deteriorate much more.
We'll speak with Vijay Prashad, author of Arab Spring, Libyan Winter. All that and more coming up. To Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. European finance ministers have agreed to a new $172 billion bailout for Greece that'll force Athens to commit to making another round of deep austerity cuts. As part of the deal, Greek workers are expected to suffer further wage cuts larger than the 15% already planned for the next 3 years. Under the agreement, Greece's private creditors have agreed to take deeper losses on their Greek debts. The bailout is being opposed by several left-wing groups in Greece. The KKE Communist Party called on people across Europe to join Greeks in their battle against, quote, monopolies and profits. Voters in Yemen went to the polls today to select a new president, officially ending the 33-year rule of Ali Abdullah Saleh. Only one candidate is on the ballot, Saleh's vice president, Abed Rabo Mansour al-Hadi. He was nominated in a deal between the ruling party and formal opposition parties. Nobel Peace Prize winner Tawakkol Karman hailed the vote as a step to building a new Yemen.
This is the day of holy happiness. This is the day of victory. Now we are officially announcing the end of Ali Abdul Saleh's era. Thanks to God, he is gone. Today we are building the new Yemen. We are building the democratic and happy Yemen that all of the youth and women have dreamed about.
The new Yemeni government is expected to have close military ties to Washington. President Obama's chief counterterrorism advisor, John Brennan, said a number of U.S. officials would visit Yemen to help restructure Yemen's military. There are reports Israel's agreed to release Palestinian prisoner Khader Adnan, who's been on a hunger strike for the past 66 days. A Palestinian minister told Agence France-Presse a deal has been struck for Israel to release Adnan on April 17th on the condition he ends his hunger strike. There was no immediate confirmation from Adnan's lawyer or the Israeli government. We'll have more on the story after headlines. More than 2,000 Afghans protested outside the U.S. military base at Bagram earlier today after a report that foreign troops burnt a pile of Qur'ans at the base. Protesters hurled petrol bombs and fired slingshots at the base. General John Allen, the U.S. commander in Afghanistan, offered his apology.
We are thoroughly investigating the incident, and we are taking steps to ensure this does not ever happen again. I assure you, I promise you, this was not intentional in any way, and I offer my sincere apologies for any offense this may have caused.
4 Air Force special operators died Monday when their spy plane crashed near a U.S. military base in the East African nation of Djibouti. The military said the 4 service members were returning from a mission in Afghanistan, but some reports said the plane was on a spy mission over East Africa. Police in Valencia, Spain, are facing criticism after beating students as they rallied against cuts to education spending Monday. Footage showed police in body armor charging students, whacking them with batons, and dragging them on the ground. 26 people were arrested, 5 of them minors, according to El País newspaper. The White House has announced President Obama will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on March 5th. The talks are expected to focus on Iran and the possibility of an Israeli strike on Iran's alleged nuclear weapons sites. On Sunday, Netanyahu held a 2-hour meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor Tom Donilon in Jerusalem. Provide new insight into the growing power of unlimited campaign donations and super PACs in the 2012 race. During the month of January, super PACs backing the 4 main Republican candidates raised $22 million, mostly in massive donations from a handful of donors. Rick Santorum's super PAC has received large donations from mutual fund investor Forrest Friess and Louisiana Energy executive William Dorr. Mitt Romney's super PAC raised $6.6 million in January. Key backers of Romney included Oklahoma mining executive Joseph W. Kraft, hedge fund billionaire Bruce Kovner, and David Lisenby, the founder of a Utah vitamin supplements company. Billionaire casino mogul Sheldon Adelson's family has so far pumped $11 million into the pro-Newt Gingrich super PAC Winning Our Future. The Center for Public Integrity reports the Adelsons have given about 84% of the $13.1 million the group's raised so far, and Adelson is planning on giving another $10 million. In other campaign news, a spokeswoman for Rick Santorum said in a TV interview Monday that Santorum was referring to President Obama's radical Islamic policies when he said the president's agenda was driven by phony theology. Alice Stewart made the comment in an interview on MSNBC.
He wasn't questioning the president's character. He wasn't questioning the president's religion. As he said, as he's clarified the statement, he was talking about radical environmentalists. He was talking about there is a type of theological secularism when it comes to the global warmers in this country. That's what he was referring to. He was referring to the president's policies in terms of the radical Islamic policies the president has, and specifically in terms of the energy exploration.
After the interview aired on MSNBC, Stewart called the network to say she had made a mistake and said radical Islamic policies instead of Obama's radical environmental policies. Former International Monetary Fund chief Dominique Strauss-Kahn is being questioned by French police for his alleged involvement in a prostitution ring. Police have questioned several prostitutes who had reported having sex with Strauss-Kahn, who resigned from the IMF in May after he was charged with the attempted rape of a hotel maid in New York. The case was later dropped. Strauss-Kahn said he did not know the women were prostitutes. The International Committee of the Red Cross is negotiating with Syrian authorities and opposition fighters on a ceasefire to bring humanitarian aid to civilians trapped by the violence. Syrian activists say at least 12 people have been killed by Syrian troops in the city of Homs. Meanwhile, Syrian forces opened fire earlier today on demonstrators in Damascus. We'll have more on Syria later in the broadcast. Protests have intensified in the West African country of Senegal after President Abdoulaye Wade's bid for a third term. At least 3 people were reportedly killed in protests over the weekend, 1 week before the election. The government apologized after tear gas was thrown into a mosque in Dakar on Friday. The country's constitution limits the presidency to 2 terms, but Senegal's highest court last month cleared the 85-year-old president to run again. Canada is threatening to file a World Trade Organization complaint against the European Union if the EU labels oil from Alberta's tar sands as highly polluting. Canada has threatened to retaliate if the EU singles out oil sands crude in what it described as a, quote, discriminatory, arbitrary, or unscientific way. In entertainment news, a study by the Los Angeles Times has revealed the voters deciding Sunday's Academy Award winners are almost all white and mostly male. There are 5,765 voting members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. 94% of them are white, 77% are men. African Americans make up about 2% of the Academy, and Latinos are less than 2%. And in journalism news, the winners of the 2011 George Polk Awards have been announced. The winners included a team of reporters at the Associated Press who exposed how the New York Police Department built one of the largest domestic intelligence agencies in the country with the help of the CIA. Mei-Ying Welsh of Al Jazeera English won an award for her documentary on Bahrain's crackdown on pro-democracy protesters. And the New Yorker's Jane Mayer won for her profile of National Security Agency whistleblower Thomas Drake. New York Times reporter Anthony Shadid will be awarded posthumously for extraordinary valor for his work in the Middle East. He died last week in Syria at the age of 43. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.